Here we are. Here we go. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway for another day. Glad to have you with us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's just after high noon, 12:06 to be precise, and I thank you for spending some time with us, whatever time you're able to give us. We're appreciative. We're here for 3 hours per day, noon to 3, Monday through Friday on Super Talk 99.7. My name is Matt Murphy, and conveniently the show is The Matt Murphy Show. We can be found on a number of different platforms. I like to inundate you with the variety of ways you can listen to the show right at the beginning so that you're aware that there are all manner of places to go and listen. You don't have to miss a moment of the show, no matter what you're doing. It's a busy life. It's a busy day. You're in the middle of the day. Maybe you're at your lunch hour and you're listening on your radio. Maybe that's what you're doing. You are just going to lunch. Well, you don't have to miss a moment when you actually go into lunch. You can just grab that smartphone and download us on any internet streaming platform of your choice. Any place that you find music or information or news or podcasts, you can find us and just stream us that way. Or better yet, download our app and take us that way. You download the app at your app store, SuperTalk 99.7 WTN, and there we are. Just hit play and off we go. Now, if you get back to your office and you're thinking, you know what? I just had a nice, lovely lunch. I want to get indigestion. Well, you turn on Super Talk TV, and there we are, available for indigestion. My ugly face. You will not see Bell K. He chooses not to participate, thankfully. That's why we call him Headless Bell. Jay Harper participates. He's back in the newsroom. And you can find us on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Thanks in part to our good friends at US Pest, to JK, Erica, and the rest of the gang over there, bringing you Super Talk Television to the masses, and F&M Bank. F&M Bank provides the chat feature over there at Super Talk Television. It is Locks for Trump Day 103. Hello, how are you? We're getting the backward swoop going on now. It's long enough where it's less to the side and more straight to the back. I feel a little bit like Donald Trump Jr. with the slick back hair, but, you know, it is what it is. Locks for Trump 103, as I've made a commitment since March that I will not cut my hair until we have a new president-elect. And that will either be on November 6th, 2024. Do you know when the, hey, Belle. Hey, Belle.
Hey,
hello.
Matthew.
How are you?
I'm just awesome.
You look great.
I do.
You look fabulous.
You are correct.
You look like if any day you could be on Super Talk TV, today would be the day.
You'd think that, wouldn't you?
You would. But not today?
No, not today. I have a little
I ask every day.
I have a little bit of a bone to pick with you.
Okay. All right. If you have a boner, then we'll talk about it in a moment. But before we do that, can you do me a favor?
Maybe.
Before we talk about your boner?
Mm-hmm.
Would you look up when Election Day is in 2028? Because I have to start considering, given the amount that the media is going to go all in for Joe Biden, given the fact that I don't ultimately believe it will be Joe Biden running against Donald Trump come November, given the fact that everything points to more shenanigans on November 5th, 2024, I'm a little bit concerned that I'm going to have to grow my hair out until November of 2028.
November 6th.
November 6th.
Yeah.
So I will either have the opportunity to cut my hair on November 6th of 2024 or November 7th of 2028.
Yeah, you better hope Trump wins. Otherwise, you're going to look like
I'm all in.
You're going to look like me by the time we get around to 2028.
I'm just glad I didn't say anything about my beard.
That's good, yeah.
That is probably for the best. All right, let's talk about your boner.
You know, our little last time on thing that we do every morning.
Yeah, I missed it.
Yeah, you know, it's
I missed it.
That's sort of meant to give the audience a little tease of what they might have heard if they had tuned in properly for the full 3 hours.
It is to make those that missed some of the show the day before go, man, I wish I had not missed it. I best hear every single moment today.
But when I make it each day, when I put it together, in my head, all I'm thinking is, oh, Matt'll love this. Matt'll like this one.
And I was talking to Han.
And every day you're yakking with Han.
He won't get out of here.
It becomes your host booth.
He won't get out of here. He loves me.
Well,
he won't get out of here.
Once again, you missed the brilliance that is me. And
you want to play it again?
It just hurt my feelings.
Would you like to play it again?
Yes.
Okay, well, hold on before you do. Much like everyone else that has to go to lunch or have duties during the lunchtime hour, libertarian lunchtime hour, or I said duty, Joe Biden.
Boner duty.
We should start calling a duty a Biden. What do you think?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I hear all the time, man, you made me late for work. Man, I had to sit in the car. And that's the best compliment that I could possibly receive. I also hear an equal number of "I hate you" and "I'll never listen to you again" and "How dare you say that about this thing or that thing."
How many times do I have to apologize for saying that? And you bring it up on the air again.
What I particularly love is listening to or hearing from someone that has repeatedly said that they're never listening to me again. The membersnutrition.com super text line is fun for that, where you can go back and look at old texts. And so I'll get a text, "I'm never listening to you again because you said this thing or that thing, or you had the audacity to exercise your First Amendment rights."
Then 1 week later.
And then 1 week later, they do the same thing, which is always fun. All right, let's listen. Let's go. Let's do it. Or not. What did I just do? That's good. That's great. That's fabulous. That is up to your normal excellence. Thank you, Bell, for that.
You want the title now?
Episode 590 of these proceedings on Super Talk 99.7 WTN is entitled
Matt Murphy. Murphy the creator. Murphy the lover. Murphy the happy. Libertarian Lunch, noon to 3. Shut your filthy mouth.
That's funny. I like that. All right, today's show, maybe, a lot of maybes. Scott Sapii wants on the show. Should we let him?
Yeah, I love talking to Scott.
Yeah.
Is he going to come by?
No, I think he's phoning it in.
No. If he's going to phone it in, no.
But he's making hay out there in Murray County.
Yeah, he can drive in for us.
I don't, you know what? I don't think
I know you're listening, Scott. Get your butt in the car.
Look, Sapii, if you want to call on in. I told you to call in at 1:35. That's the time that I gave him. However, that might be fluid because I hit up Andy Ogles, who was in the Trump meeting today, and we might be hearing from Congressman Andy Ogles, who was also playing baseball last night. By the way, maybe the funniest thing I've ever said on Twitter. Maybe the funniest thing I've ever said on the X machine. I also posted it up on Facebook. At least to me, was posted last night. I watched some of the congressional baseball game, which the Republicans absolutely destroyed the Democrats.
Where'd they broadcast it?
It was I saw it on Fox Sports 1.
Oh, okay.
I think it was also on C-SPAN. But Tim Burchett was there. He accounted for or acquitted himself quite well. I saw him bat. I think he got to first base on a walk, if I'm not mistaken. I've got a little video of Burchett up at the plate that I'm just going to use that as collateral against him. Because
was he in shorts?
No. Everybody's got, this is a big deal. This is baseball, man. They're not, this is not softball. This is overhand pitch.
Do they have actual uniforms?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, they've got unis, and a lot of the congressmen, they wear uniforms from their old colleges, or if some of them support professional teams, they get uniformed in the professional team outfit.
Did our taxes pay for these?
I don't think so. Okay. I think that they do. But actually, frankly, they probably pay for it out of campaign donations or discretionary funds. So one way or the other, someone in America is paying for it. It ain't the congressman, I promise you that. But they've got hats and, it was good. It was all good. And the Republicans won 31-10.
What?
Yeah. 31-10. It's all about finding a picture.
How is that possible? The Democrats could have had, men playing, pretending to be women playing on their team.
Well, but they have to be sitting congressmen or women.
Well, okay.
You can only, they don't allow ringers in the games.
Gotcha.
So with that in mind, there was a time where Democrats were just slaughtering the Republicans, but the Republicans are coming back quite nicely over the last several years.
31 to what?
Yeah, it was, I looked it up last night. It is the second highest total score in the history of the game. And the game started like in 1909. There were gaps. There were breaks like during wartime. There have been several times, like in 2020, for example, during COVID, they didn't play the game. It's always for charity. And they raised $2.2 million last night for a variety of different charities. I've been to the game. I went a couple of years ago. I went the year that Joe Biden showed up. And Joe Biden was lustily booed. There's a split. So what happens is the Congress people get an allotment of tickets. And then they hand out tickets to constituents. All of the staffers go. It's a huge deal, right? A lot of times they have shirts. Like when we went, I went at the invitation of Congressman Gary Palmer. Gary could not play last night because he's got I think he's got a little bit of it's either a hammy or It might be a torn meniscus. I don't know. He's got an injury. He was on the bench. But I went in at his invitation, and we all wore Gary Palmer for Congress T-shirts because, that's what you do. So all of the Congress people get an allotment of tickets, and everybody has a good time, and it's very collegial and all that. But, 31-10 is the second highest score, right behind, I forget if it was the Republicans or the Democrats. I think it was the Republicans that scored 34 runs back in 1928 or something. Here's the thing, man. It's all about getting a good pitcher. Just like in real baseball, you got to have good pitching. And we had a guy, Congressman Stubbe, on the mound that was throwing strikes, baby. Throw strikes, get them in play. Throw strikes, get them in play. You'll get outs. And their pitchers could not throw strikes. Much like Joe Biden can't walk across the stage.
Are we sure this is not due to a radical umpire with a bias?
Oh, the umpire got trashed last night, too.
Of course.
Catcher, not like that, Bill. Not trashed like...
No, I mean, I figured somebody would, you lose that badly, somebody's calling.
Well, foul. No. It was the Republican catcher. There was a ball that was hit foul straight up in the air, and the catcher was trying to find it, and the umpire was in the way, and the catcher's this huge congressman from Texas, and the umpire's this kind of the short-looking guy, and he just bowled over and the guy was down. He was out for a minute.
Wow.
The old umpire was out. It's a contact sport, baby. There's always, my favorite thing about watching this is there's always multiple injuries. And I don't mean to be mean. But,
old men breaking a hip.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no, seriously. It's like they're trying to stretch a single into a double and pull up lame. Oh, my gosh. Great. And, of course, the a-holes in the world, they had to rush the field. Climate change activists rush the field. You know what they got for their trouble?
Arrested.
Tackled hard and then arrested. By the way, climate activist, I don't know who you're trying to convince on your side. I don't know what kind of attention you're trying to get. Maybe not a good look less than 10 years after Republicans were slaughtered on a baseball field by a radical liberal activist, a Bernie Sanders supporter. Maybe not the best look in the world for you to bum rush the field. Be that as it may, you're not typically worried about good looks.
Our planet is burning. We have to do something now.
That's exactly right. And then there were some pro-Palestinian buttholes waving their pro-Palestinian flags. I've got a lot to say about the Israel-Palestinian conflict today, by the way. But no, my comment was about halfway through watching this debate. I mean, look, you get spoiled watching professional baseball. You get spoiled watching the College Baseball World Series. Those are really, really, really good players, the elite of the elite. And then you watch these guys that are, 40-something or 50-something or 60-something doddering around the baseball field. And so my comment was, Congress is about as good at baseball as they are at Congress.
That's exactly where my head was going. I hope they're as good as baseball as they are at spending our money.
I was greatly amused by the comment, and I hope you are too. Follow me on social media at Matt Murphy Show on the X machine, on the Facebook. You can find me at just Matt Murphy or Matt Murphy Show. There's two accounts there. One's full, one's not. The Murphy Show account is the one that you want to go to and like, and I appreciate you doing that so we can communicate when I'm not on air for these 3 hours. But primarily, if you want to interact directly with me, and I do that quite often, at Matt Murphy Show on the Twitter machine or the X machine, as it were, at Matt Murphy Show. You can find my comment there, and I'll probably post up a video of Tim Burchett looking foolish up at the plate. Maybe Andy Ogles later on today to discuss this as well. Andy was in the game. He pinch hit. Or no, he didn't pinch hit. He pinch run. He pinch ran several times. They allow for pinch runners because some of the players can't do it. I will say this, one more note on it. I don't want to belabor it. But Steve Scalise was at the game. Steve Scalise batted. He's unable to run. His hip issue has become much worse over the years. He had cancer last year in the aftermath of taking bullets on the field in 2017. By all accounts, and I forget the name of the doctor, one of the congressmen who was playing last night, who was playing in his last game, he's retiring, was a congressman that was on the field in Alexandria, Virginia. He's also a doctor. And I had forgotten this aspect of the story, that if he had not been there, Steve Scalise would have been dead. I mean, he would have died had it not been for the triage that happened right at shortstop the day of that assault by the doctor who was there on the field. Steve Scalise would be dead. He literally owes his life to this fellow congressman, and he was there. Scalise comes up to the plate and gets a walk, and he has a pinch. Like Scalise, when he's up at the plate, literally has a pinch runner who will stand right beside the plate. And you see this sometimes in like old-timers games. The guys that we want to see that can't run, they have a person there designated to run for them. And if they hit the ball, that person runs instead of Scalise runs. And so that person was there, and Scalise was at the plate. And Scalise, and it's just, if you saw any of it last night, it just to help you understand, it's painful to watch him walk. Just because you feel like it's painful for him to walk. But he got a walk. 4 balls, and the pinch runner started to go to first base, and Scalise stopped him. And Scalise went to first base on his own, like hobbled to first base on his own, and got a standing ovation from Democrats and Republicans alike.
Wow.
It was a nice demonstration of humanity and of kindness, considering what that man has gone through. So just wanted to note that.
Please tell me we have video of Jerry Nadler running from first from home to first.
No, Jerry Nadler, he was not actually playing a position in the field. He was backstop. He was playing the backstop. He was there to stop the balls from going to. Yeah,
That's just terrible.
What?
I love it.
Nadler's the only human being. I mean, he looks like. Remember Willy Wonka when Violet turned into the blueberry? That's Jerry Nadler.
Nadler's the only person I know that can lose 200 pounds and still be morbidly obese.
I know he's like a weeble wobble.
Yes.
Remember the thing that we used to blow up and you'd hit it in the face and it would go down and come right back up. You hit it in the face. That's Jerry Nadler. And I want to hit him in the face just like I hit those weeble wobbles in the face. All right, 1223, Super Talk 99.7. Just going to get away. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Supreme Court decision to allow the abortion pill to stay. It was a technically decided decision, but you know what? It was the right decision, and we'll discuss that. Plus, we're going to update you on the Israeli-Hamas conflict, started by Hamas, continued by Hamas, and we're going to do that in ways that the mainstream media refuses to do. It's all on the way. Plus, your telephone calls, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN, phone or text. It's 1223 on Super Talk.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
The U.S. Supreme Court making a ruling on the so-called abortion pill. We'll have that story. And also here in Tennessee, TCAP assessment scores have been released. We'll have some info on that as well. That's all coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, indeed. Can't wait for that, Jay Harper. Also coming up, Scott Sapii, Representative Sapii has been on top of these scoring measurements and all of that, and in part he wants to come on to respond to the TCAP score, so that's a perfect segue as he's planning on coming on in the 1 o'clock hour after Jay Harper's news regarding what those scores exactly are. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. So the Supreme Court unanimously held that the plaintiffs that sued regarding the abortion pill suffered no injuries and lack legal standing to sue. I understand it's a very personal issue for a lot of people. I understand that there are many Americans, many Tennesseans, and many people who listen to this radio show that believe that at the moment of conception, life begins and that life has the full rights as enjoyed by the rest of the American people in our great country, to include life and liberty and the ultimate pursuit of happiness. I also understand that we all have a line that we draw in the sand with regard to where we see that as happening. And many people are very forceful regarding their viewpoints when we talk about this. My standard is that I believe in God, and I believe that there are things that God does and allows that are exterior to our understanding. I do not believe that force should supersede faith. And I believe that in our country, as we believe in freedom and as we believe in free will and as we believe in an individual's ability to believe or not believe, as God determined it, I mean, God provided free will, that there are some things that are sinful or immoral that ought not be illegal. And I think the abortion pill is one of them. And I know that a lot of you will disagree with that, but that is fine. I also believe that contraception is a perfectly acceptable way, a better way, as a matter of fact, of preventing pregnancy. I don't support it necessarily. I wouldn't advise toward it necessarily, but there are things that I do not support that I do not believe should be illegal. In the various states that make them legal, don't get me wrong, I don't believe that California's law should supersede Tennessee's in any way. However, we are a collection of states that believe in freedom of commerce, and if those things are legal and publicly available there, then the idea is that one state should not dictate to another state how they manage these types of things. The Supreme Court didn't get into any of that in as much as they determined that the petitioners in the case did not have any legal standing in order to base their case, and therefore they ultimately just unanimously decided, well, there's no standing here. Because there's no standing here, we're not going to hear any of the merits of the case because this person doesn't have the ability to bring the case to begin with. 12:30. By the way, did you hear, on a much lighter note, Dan Mandis this morning on Asheville's Morning News? If you miss a moment of Mandis, what a delight. What a delight Dan is. And in a moment, after Jay Harper delivers his news, I will tell you the latest Mandis-ism. I'm not settled on that, but I've got to call them something. We could call it a Mandisism. We could call it a Dan attack. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it was one of the funnier 3 minutes of radio that I've heard in a long time, and it has to do with hotel rooms and remote controls. That's coming up in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 12:31. Good afternoon. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a lot of sunshine. We're up to 89 degrees. We'll get a full forecast to you here shortly. Still dealing with traffic problems northwest of the city and west of the city. I-24 westbound still closed down near Clarksville between exits 19 and 11 due to a crash between a semi and 3 cars. Also west of the city in the Fairview area, I-40 eastbound near Fairview between exits 182 and 188. That, too, still closed down due to an overturned vehicle there. Now, getting to the news, the U.S. Supreme Court upholding access to the abortion pill mifepristone. That ruling for a group of pro-life doctors that they have no legal standing to block the FDA from loosening restrictions on the medication, which for now people can get without a doctor's visit. They can get it by mail. And quickly, right here now in Tennessee, TCAP assessment scores, they've been released, and results do show some improvements, including the fewest number of fourth grade students in the below expectations level than they've ever had. Third grade scores pretty well remain steady. And as Matt mentioned, he'll be discussing that after the top of the hour. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
I don't like weather people telling me what to do. I don't like weather people telling me what to do. She said, be sure to do this, be sure to do that. You know, mind your own business. I'll take care of myself. I'm 50 years old. I know what the weather does. I mean, look, I know I have to talk about Paul Winkler, but I'm just telling you what I'm telling you.
Look, be nice to those weather people over there. They help us out a lot.
Be sure to drink plenty of fluids and wear light clothing and don't go out in the middle of the day and don't water your lawn at certain hours. And shut up.
Yeah, don't go out into traffic.
Now Matt's going to wear all black and drink.
Harper's with me on this.
Matt's going to wear all black and drink whiskey.
I made it this far in life without your help, weather lady, and I can go plenty more years without needing to hear from you about what I should or should not do. And don't start telling me to get in my safe place either. That's another thing. Don't get me started. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Paul Winkler. Now, I'll tell you somebody that can tell me what to do when it comes to my financial investments, and that's Paul Winkler, because he has years and years and years of experience, and it's what he does. Now, a lot of you are wondering what the heck's going to happen with the stock market later on this year, especially during an election year. Paul Winkler and his team of experts at Paul Winkler want to assist. Now, obviously, Paul is good at what he does. Education comes first. He helps you understand in a way that nobody else has done for me. He helps you understand what investment strategy means, how it works for you, what he does and what he does not do, and it gives you the ability to make the appropriate decisions for you and your family and your investments. That is what it's all about, friends. At Paul Winkler, you get no surprises. At Paul Winkler, you get an education first and foremost. Now, I am paid to say good things about Paul Winkler. I'm an endorser of Paul Winkler's, but I'm not paid to be a client, and I'm also a client. Why? Because I believe in his investment strategy. I believe in the manner in which he treats his customers. Go to paulwinkler.com for more information. That's paulwinkler.com. You'll be happy you did. Paul Winkler and his team of experts, 10 separate offices to serve you. You can find more on that on the website, and tell them I sent you. To Paul Winkler. Membersnutrition.com super text line is up and running, and a lot of you are making it a part of your regular routine to communicate with us, saying hello during the afternoon hours, and we appreciate that, particularly during the Libertarian lunch. Hello to each and every one of you listening. A lot of you with your suggestions about what we should call some of these comments from the Peanut Gallery on the Nationals Morning News and Dan Mandis. I think I've settled on Dandism. Another Dandism. Dandisms are things that Dan observes in life that no one else has thought ever, and Dan is shocked and amazed that no one else has thought or said them. More on that coming up in a moment. 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Ray says, condoms do not kill a fetus. I don't have a problem with contraception that prevents pregnancy, abortion, and abortion pills kill babies. The morning after pill does not kill a baby because the morning after pill prevents the egg and the sperm from reaching the womb and attaching in the womb. So you actually need three things to make a baby. You need a sperm, an egg, and an oven. And that oven is in the form of the womb. And if there is no womb, there is no baby. And, I mean, that's just what I feel about it. I understand that this is faith-based for some people, and I'm not trying to knock your faith or knock your position on it. Reasonable people can have reasonable disagreements about this and not become enemies. Sadly, it is harder and harder to accomplish that nowadays. But overall, all of the argument for years with regard to abortion, and I'll just say this about the decision on the part of the Supreme Court, which I think was rightly decided. You have to have standing in order to bring an issue before the court. They did not have standing, so there's no harm there. And if there's no harm, then there's no standing. If there's no standing, there's no case. That was the decision made by the court. And I agree with the decision, but it doesn't have anything to do with whether or not certain states can prevent shipment within their states through mail services or FedEx. I suppose they can make those shipments illegal, as happens with other things. For example, the easiest example is marijuana. Is it legal to ship marijuana into the state of Tennessee from a state where it is legal? And that is no. But I want to say that those states make it illegal to ship the marijuana too. I think they do that as a courtesy to the other states. But one way or the other, if Tennessee makes it illegal for that to be imported into the state of Tennessee, then it's illegal to be imported into the state of Tennessee. I suppose that they could do the same thing with any sort of medications, pharmaceutical medications of any sort. Now, enforcement of that might be a different matter. So I agree with you, Ray, in principle, that the overall point is if it is a state's matter, which is what we argued for years, right? I mean, for years, my argument was, as a small L libertarian, that it is not the job, until and unless things are written down in the Constitution of the United States of America, until and unless we amend the Constitution of the United States of America, there are certain things that are not under the umbrella of the federal government. And abortion or these types of medical procedures would be one of them. They should be, per the 10th Amendment, left up to the states and the people respectively. And that's what Dobbs v. Jackson reversed with Roe v. Wade being struck down. Dobbs v. Jackson did not ban abortion anywhere. Dobbs v. Jackson certified that it is a state's rights. By the way, quick thing, Bell. There's Marsha Blackburn on my screen amongst a number of other senators as Donald Trump has wrapped up a visit with the House of Representatives and with the United States Senate. It is his first trip to Capitol Hill in some time, his first visit certainly to Washington, D.C. He is approaching the stage right now. Can we jip this? He's just entering the room. Oh, look, there's Mitt Romney looking like he likes Donald Trump. Isn't that nice? There's Lindsey Graham there, a lot of assembled senators. There's Ted Cruz looking a lot like Matt Murphy these days, shorter hair. Oh, there's Katie Britt. Oh, how do I know all these senators? I don't know. I need to reevaluate my life that I know all these names. And he's about to step to the podium and speak to some of the assembled folk. He's approaching the podium as we speak. I don't want to get any of this nonsense gobbledygook talk, but if they give him the microphone and hand it, there we go.
What is the
All right, so there you go. There's the Donald Trump speaking before reporters and assembled United States senators. I believe this is the Senate side. There's Josh Hawley. There's J.D. Vance, widely considered to be on the short list of VP possibilities. Marsha Blackburn standing there. Don't see Haggerty. Oh, there's Chuck Grassley. He's still getting around. Ted Cruz, once again, trying to look like me, whatever. This is obviously an assembled group. Man, Lindsey Graham. Have you seen Lindsey looking that old lately?
He's getting puffy.
I mean, he's puffy and he's got the white hair going. And oh, man. Yeah, before you know it, Lindsey might start dating.
I'm pretty sure he already does.
And there's Katie Britt. Katie Britt, I'm telling you guys, even with her disastrous performance after the State of the Union, I don't think Katie Britt is necessary. She just hugged him. Katie Britt from Alabama might still be in the running for VP possibilities. Even with that disastrous performance, maybe not. Maybe it's a good time to ask the audience where they are on VP possibilities. Perhaps we'll do that in a couple of minutes. We'll also talk about the fact that you do have Russian warships off the coast of Florida. Someone asked me the question, if what would happen if they attacked? I mean, God forbid. What would happen if they attacked? I don't think Joe Biden would do anything. I mean, what, World War III? I mean, what would Joe Biden do?
Crap his pants?
Probably poop his pants. Have you seen the latest? This is weird. I just posted this on the X machine. Go look on the X machine for this. It's Joe Biden. They're at some sort of event or ceremony where somebody came down in a parachute. And Joe Biden everyone's looking at the parachutist or parachutor. I don't know which way you say it, parachutist. And this was originally posted by RNC Research, and I reposted it. I don't know if there's any audio associated with it. Let's see. Let's find out. No, I guess there's not. You have me up over there? You got my audio up over there? Yeah, I guess there's no audio to it. It's just it's a guy in a parachute, military guy. Everybody's looking toward him.
Oh my God, that was bad.
Did you see it? Have you seen it? And Joe's just wandering off by himself.
He's literally like turned around, staring off into the distance.
And then somebody has to turn him around. Oh my goodness gracious! He's just staring off into the distance, and someone has to turn him around. I guess this was at an event commemorating the
Grandpa's
80th anniversary of
away.
D-Day. There he goes. He's wandering. Somebody grabs him. Oh, no, we got to go this way. And then he puts on those aviator shades so nobody can see the blank 1,000-yard stare that he exhibits on the regular. Troy's coming up. Jimmy's coming up. Your calls as well. And we'll give you our analysis in the next hour over what's going on with Israel and Hamas and these warships off the coast of Florida. It's all on the way on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Friends, there's still time till the month of June expires. You have a brand new offer from USS, United Structural Systems. Let's talk about it. Of course, United Structural Systems is the company that we've all trusted in our crawl space for the last 30 years. And they're now offering mold treatment. It is perfect timing. I mean, the rain comes and goes, but the humidity stays around. And with the humidity that we've had, perhaps you're noticing musty smells in your basement or your crawl space. This leads to increased allergies. This leads to increased respiratory issues. You might have had mold in your crawl space for a time. Mold spores travel up into the home, into the air that you breathe, and can cause health problems. It's time for the RTE solution. USS is offering this. That's RTE. Remove, treat, in cap, because it does no good to remove the mold if you don't take the proper steps to prevent it from coming back, because guess what? It will come back. At USS, they know this. They've seen it time and again, and so they offer you a lasting solution with complete mold treatment. And right now through June 30th, you can get $500 off your treatment of your RTE mold treatment from USS. $500 off. Go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com for more information, or call 615-488-7855. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only USS.
The U.S. Supreme Court rules on the abortion pill availability. We'll have that story. Also, President Biden, he's in Italy at that G7 summit. We'll have some of his remarks. That's coming up at 1 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The mainstream media, and I do not include Jay Harper in this analysis. He's a true journalist, but the mainstream media wants to remember the old Spock mind meld, or they want to meld your mind with liberals. They want you to exhibit the hive mind mentality. What else can I? Maybe it's more like Men in Black. That they want to try
Borg.
They want to try to erase your mind, or the Borg. They want you to assimilate to the Borg and become a part of the collective. And in that regard, they are actually part of their push. And just watch this happen. I told you the abortion thing was going to happen. I told you this months and months and months ago, that one of the major issues that they were going to latch onto was the abortion issue, because they think that it motivates young people to get to the polls. They know, let me just give you a little now. They know they have a bad guy running. They know they have to avoid his record at all cost. So they have to create issues, or they have to attempt to convince you that the issues that you are concerned about don't truly exist. And they're about to try to do that on two things. One is illegal immigration in the southern border, and the other is crime. I'm going to give you some of the analysis as to how they do that and why it's so wrong and how it will not work. That's on the way next. We'll also talk about Israel and Hamas. There's a new library that has opened at Cordell Hull. I'll tell you about that, too. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is 1 p.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Plenty of sunshine, and it's hot. 89 degrees. We'll get that hot forecast to you here shortly. Still dealing with traffic problems. I-24 westbound still closed near Clarksville between exits 19 and 11 due to a crash between a semi and three cars. THP, that's the Highway Patrol, they're estimating this won't be reopened until at least 2 o'clock this afternoon. Over on the west side of the city, I-40 eastbound near Fairview between exits 182 and 188, that is closed. They had an overturned vehicle crash there earlier. They're still cleaning that up. Traffic backed up all the way to I-840. That's around mile marker 176. Now getting to the news, the U.S. Supreme Court handing down a ruling on the abortion pill mifepristone, preserving widespread access to the drug nationwide. Using mifepristone, reportedly the most common way to end pregnancy in the United States. The justice's ruling, abortion opponents lacked the legal right to sue over FDA approval of the medication. Here's ABC's Devin Dwyer with more.
This means broadly that the abortion pill mifepristone remains widely available as it has been for decades. Women can now use it up to 10 weeks of pregnancy. They can seek it in telemedicine appointments. They can receive it by mail, and that will continue after this decision.
President Biden today delivering remarks at the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment event, otherwise known as PGI. That's all taking place at the G7 summit in Italy. Biden speaking about the global impact of PGI.
All told, I'm proud to announce the United States has mobilized more than $60 billion in investments around the world thus far. That's double where we were last year. Now we've still got a long way to go to close the infrastructure gap that holds too many countries back. But together, I think we're showing that democracies can deliver. This is an important moment to be able to do that.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to remind you about Tennessee Men's Clinic and all the good that they're doing for men in our community. Tennessee Men's Clinic is a men's-centric approach to health care, and they can help you, gentlemen, if you're feeling low on energy, if you're middle-aged and you think this is just the way that it goes. Let me be the first to tell you it can be different. You can get back to energetic life again. It might be T levels. It might be something else on your body naturally occurring that has decreased over time that's leading to a loss of energy. Get back to life. Get back to energetic life through gains at the gym, through working in the yard, or bedroom activity is affected by this too, man. And I have to lay that out there where the goats can graze on it because, gentlemen, you can get your life back through Tennessee Men's Clinic. Go ahead and make the call that thousands of others have made to Tennessee Men's Clinic today at 615-208-9090, 615-208-9090, or online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Tennessee Men's Clinic, 2 locations, one, the new one in Cool Springs, the other, Midtown location, has been there since 2014. It's Tennessee Men's Clinic. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WT. And as promised, I'll get to your telephone calls coming up just a little bit later this hour. Also coming up later on this hour, if he manages to make it to the stage, fair warning bell. We've got Joe Biden expected to make a joint appearance with Vladimir Zelensky, the president, head potentate of Ukraine. That is expected to happen any moment now. He is at a G7 summit, so we'll carry some of that for you live as it occurs because you never know what will happen when Joe Biden takes the stage. Maybe he falls down. Maybe he goes the other way. Oftentimes, he goes the wrong way when it's time to leave the stage. We'll find out all. Well, I mean, I do want to see. I mean, your temper is getting a little out of control, Joe, considering that you've got that early onset dementia, or maybe not so early onset dementia. Hello. He sounds so cogent and with it during that clip now, doesn't he? Remember back in the day when he didn't sound with it then, but now you look back on it and he sounds so with it because he's so out of it now? When's the last time Joe Biden just had a conversation off script with someone that we remember? Sincerely. I don't care what your political affiliation is. I don't care if you're liberal, Democrat, whatever. When's the last time that we recall that Joe Biden had just a normal sit-down conversation with somebody that was on camera?
I'd have to... Well, not necessarily a sit down, but I'd have to say during the campaign when he was doing those kind of town halls. I mean, even if he disagreed, like the guy that he called the lion dog-faced pony soldier, again, he sounds cogent there. And, you know, he disagreed with the guy and he was arguing with him, but at least he sounded like he had his faculties.
And I don't include these one-on-one sit-down interviews because some have... I mean, that ESPN reporter said that their interview of several years ago was nailed down and scripted to the point that the White House demanded questions in advance. I would expect that the sit-down that he did with David Muir of ABC News fairly recently while he was overseas in Normandy, France, I would guarantee you that they had all of the questions in advance. So I don't consider any of those to be real conversations. I'm talking about the last time that Joe Biden had an off-the-cuff speech or off-the-cuff remarks or just a basic conversation with someone. I mean, I can tell you the last time that Donald Trump did it. Bell, you want to know the last time that Donald Trump spoke extemporaneously, publicly?
Just with what we just ran?
Yeah, it was about, 20 minutes ago when we ran that. He stepped up to the stage and spoke for 2 or 3, 4, 5 minutes about his conversations with the Republicans in the United States Senate and the House of Representatives. We'll get more on that coming up, I hope, with Andy Ogles. We're expecting a conversation with Ogles. Also, Scott Sapii coming up a little bit later on this hour. So, if Joe Biden steps to the podium, we'll cut away and listen to what the resident of the United States of America has to say. I'll tell you what. I'm going to go to a couple of telephone calls before I get into the Israeli-Hamas thing because I've got a few things to say about that, and that might take up some time. In the meantime, Troy is in Winchester. Hey, Troy.
Hey.
What's up?
A couple comments. Make sure you wear galoshes when it rains, okay?
You gotta wear your rubbers.
Got to do that. And do you have like a little ribbon that you can start wearing a ponytail?
Well, sure. I mean, I've got a scrunchie or two. There was a time in my day where I sported a ponytail back in college, so I could probably...
Why not? You know, put a little, red, white, and blue going up and down your ponytail.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Well, hell, I might do pigtails, Troy. You never know.
Hey, go for it. That would be okay. And then also, may the force be with you.
And also with you.
All right, Matt. Love your show.
Thanks, brother. Wait, was I supposed to know? I mean, I didn't know. So
I don't either.
I thought I did well, though. Just if someone says, may the force be with you, you say, and also with you, right? I mean, that's...
Oh, speaking of not knowing, are we going to listen to this Mandis audio?
Oh, yeah. So Dan gave us another delicious dandism this morning on Nashville's Morning News. It was during the gang of 28 Amigos. And randomly, Dan had something to say about hotel rooms. And I was listening, and let's just play it, and we'll comment on it afterwards. Here's Dan Mandis on Nashville's Morning News with Chris Hand and Johnny B. and Ken Weaver from this morning's broadcast. Listen up.
Do you guys, when you go into a hotel room, do you actually touch the remote? Like, I have been to 2 trips by myself in the last year, I think. I refuse to even touch the remote.
So what do you do for TV?
Yeah.
I don't watch TV because I don't want to touch the remote.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Watches his phone.
Yes, that's it, Ken. I watch my phone. That's what I'm doing all alone in a hotel room. No, in all seriousness.
Does that make it better?
I do. I watch my phone.
Well, now I'm thinking about all the times I've touched a TV remote in a hotel room.
I'm going to a hotel this weekend. I don't want to touch the remote now.
Well, you know what I do? I've actually done this. I brought in like wipes and I wipe down the remote.
You would.
So this is a classic dandism where Mandis throws something on the table, and I think he thought everybody was going to be right there with him, and then nobody was there with him, and he didn't know how to get out of the room. So, I mean, does Mandis wear a mask in a hotel too? Maybe some. I think I figured out a good Bell. I think I've got us a good Christmas gift for Dan Mandis.
What would that be?
A lot of the rubber gloves.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if he's that concerned with the remote control in a hotel room, do I need to tell Dan Mandis about the black light in the hotel room? And
No, he wouldn't go in the room. He'd sleep in his car. He'd get a rental car and sleep in the car.
Does Dan know? I didn't know that Dan was a germaphobe.
Yeah.
Did you know this?
Yeah, he's always been... That's a piece of why he doesn't like people touching him.
Really?
No hugs, no handshakes.
I had no idea. So when you check into a hotel room, do you concern yourself with the cleanliness of the remote?
Don't give a rat's ass.
I don't either. I'll make a point to wash my hands with a little more regularity when I'm in a hotel room, considering that maybe there was somebody there at some point that had some sort of illness. But, I mean, what sort of disease does Dan think he's going to get off the remote control that has been sitting on the remote control for that length of time?
When I did
COVID?
When I did record promotion and I was traveling with regularity, I never cared about what was going on in the room because no matter what had happened in that room, what I was going to do to myself that night at the bar or the dinner or whatever was going to be worse. So there was no logical reason to care.
I mean, if you really want to, somebody needs to ask Dan tomorrow. Do this for me, guys. Make a point to ask Dan tomorrow if he eats lemon in restaurants. Have you seen the stories and the studies about the most germ-ridden things in restaurants? Lemons are by far. Ice is one, because rarely do they clean the tubes that feed the ice machine.
Right.
And that creates microbes or whatever in the ice machines that they use. Not to freak you guys out, but lemons are typically the number one most germ-ridden item in any given restaurant, because typically they don't wash the lemons. They just take the lemons
with regularity,
and they get handled, and they don't wash them after they handle. I am here to tell you that of all of the items in a random restaurant, the thing in the restaurant that has the most fecal matter on it are the lemons. So if you get lemons in your water, enjoy.
That's so nice of you. Matt Murphy, your friend.
I just don't know. I guess I get it. But I just, if you live a life of germophobia, then, it has to be a hard life. I knew a guy that wore gloves everywhere he went because he was so afraid of germs. It's like Howard Hughes level. Anyway, I thought it was funny because Mandis, I feel like Dan, in his own dandism way, thought that everybody would be with him on the remote control. But in all seriousness, he kind of backed out of the room when asked, well, what do you do? Because he didn't really go into, well, then what do you do?
And Ken threw him a lifeline, and he grabbed it right away.
Did you notice that? I don't know that. Oh, yes, Ken.
That's exactly what I do.
That's what I do. I look at my phone. Like, what do you do? There's only one. Well, there's more than one thing to do. But there's...
Yeah, that's getting back to the rubber gloves, right?
There's only a few things to do in the hotel room, and
Matt, I have been in hotel rooms where they have sealed the remote in plastic.
I've seen those.
Yeah,
I've seen that,
and I've also seen it where they just stuck it in a Ziploc bag.
Well, I've seen that too.
Yeah.
I know that some people take Ziploc bags with them for that express purpose. That the first thing they do is they take the remote and they maybe put some sort of cloth over the remote, and they put it in the Ziploc bag so they can use the remote without having to touch it.
The problem is if the hotel is doing that, everything that was going to be on the remote is now on the wrap or the baggie, so you're still getting all the gunk.
Well, true, but what is supposed to happen, Bell, what these hotels that do this suggest is that every time the room is cleaned, the bag is replaced.
Yes, and the presumption is that the remote is sanitized. It's wiped down before placing it inside the plastic.
Right, and the comforter has no stains on it.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
And in the meantime, underneath the mattress, there's a body that's been there for the last 3 years. Remember those urban legends?
Yes.
Man, those are.
Hey, that actually made for some good episodes of CSI.
That's true. That's true. I just, no, I never touch the remote. Well, how do you turn on the TV? I don't turn on the TV. Well, what do you do in the hotel room? Mandis, light bulb goes off in his head. There's basically 2 things to do in a hotel room by yourself.
Sleep?
Okay, 3. And one of them is not play on your phone. There's 3 things to do. Sleep, TV, and the other thing. Which one you doing? Mandis, telephone! I'm on my telephone!
Thank you, Ken. God, he owes Weaver big on that one, man.
That's pretty funny.
He saved him.
117 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. In more serious matters going on overseas, it is amazing the lack of conversation, the lack of coverage over what has just happened with regard to the Israeli-Hamas conflict. There is exactly one group of people that are bad guys here, and that is Hamas. Hamas are the bad, and I would include many of the Palestinian peoples in that number because it's impossible to distinguish Hamas between your average citizen in Palestine and Hamas, citizen in Gaza and Hamas. But now, there was a ceasefire that was proposed. By the way, there was a ceasefire in place on October 6th. Who violated that ceasefire? Hamas. How did they do so? By slaughtering the Jews and kidnapping the Jews and keeping the Jews hostage. And the media, now that, they vilified Israel for the last how many months? Israel, they're not being consistent. They don't have, what was the phrase that they used that any response, proportional. You must have a proportional response. What? So This guy hits me. This guy attacks me. I'm superior firepower. I go back at him, and my response has to be proportional. Who said that? Who said that? However, Israel, in a desire for peace, agreed to a ceasefire, a UN-sanctioned ceasefire. Have you heard about what Hamas said about it? Of course you haven't. Of course you haven't, because the media has their thumb on the scale. We're going to discuss next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Head on over to heartlandjournal.com to find all things Tennessee and all things United States of America and really beyond. Heartland Journal is your one-stop shop for all things state of Tennessee, and it's got the incredible podcast there available for you. It's my favorite part of Heartland Journal is the Heartland Journal podcast with Steve Abramowitz. He has authors. He has celebrities. He has media figures. Yes, he has a lot of politicians. As a matter of fact, our good friend Scott Sapii was just on episode 213 of Heartland Journal recently. You can find out more by going to Rumble, by going to the Heartland Journal website at heartlandjournal.com. There are many places to find them online. Anywhere where you see internet streaming of podcasts, you can find Heartland Journal. Politicians like Gino Bolso, you'll occasionally see yours truly, Matt Murphy, and Murphy's Law. Our segment is there with regularity, and we would love to see you. Love what Steve's doing at Heartland Journal, and I would love for you to make it a part of your daily internet activity. I go over there on a daily basis, and you should too. Heartlandjournal.com. That's heartlandjournal.com.
The U.S. Supreme Court ruled on the abortion pill. We'll get to some of that information for you. Also, President Biden at the G7 summit and former President Trump making some comments after meeting with Congressional Republicans earlier today. That's all coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Harper. It is 1:23 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pleased you've decided to join us. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're appreciative. You can also turn a monologue into a dialogue, or if there's two of you, a dialogue into a trilogue by calling up 615-737-9986. Many of you making comments on the membersnutrition.com super text line. You're invited to do that. 615-737-9986. Mr. Jimmy is in Shelbyville. Hey, Mr. Jimmy.
Yeah.
How are you?
Who is this, Matt Murphy?
This is Matt Murphy.
Yeah, you were saying that you were 50 years old a while ago?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, I'm about 35 years older than you.
You got a lot more wisdom than I do, Mr. Jimmy. Tell you that.
The fourth thing you can do in a motel or hotel when you're spending the night is swim. You got the pool.
Well, I mean I guess that's true. I've never swum in a hotel pool, Mr. Jimmy.
Well, I used to, when I first got out of the service in '61, I used to travel and sell. And I stayed at the motels and stuff. And let's see, I was checking in the Downtowner Motel in Jackson, Tennessee, when Kennedy got shot. Up above the check-in stand, they had a TV up there, and it was about 4:30, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon when I was checking in, and it had him getting shot there on the TV.
Well, it had him. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so
that's what I was doing when Kennedy got shot.
Wow.
I was traveling and selling.
Did you hold on, Mr. Jimmy? I've got to ask you more about swimming in the hotel pool.
Yeah.
So you did that on the regular? You would take your swimming trunks?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'd do my exercises and then go jump in the pool.
Did you ever swim in some of those indoor pools?
Oh, yeah. I used to stay at the Holiday Inns. I stayed at the Holiday Inn in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, for back then in '61, early '60s. The hotels like the Holiday Inn was $6.49 a night. I was a regular. I was there about every 2 weeks, so they didn't go up on me. The only time they went high up was they had races there in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And the only time they would go up on me was during the racing season. And they'd go up $2 to $8.49 for a motel room then.
Wait,
but
so
they never would go up on me.
The Holiday Inn was less than $10 back in the day, huh?
Yeah, it was less than $8. It was around $6.
Wow. Man, oh man.
What I really wanted to talk
and
about.
You can't even get a soda. By the way, Mr. Jimmy, you can't even get a soda at a hotel for that amount of money anymore.
Yeah, I know that. You're lucky if you find one under $100.
No, then no question.
75, 80 bucks.
You better watch staying at those $75 places. I'll get you into trouble. Now you're talking about some real disease.
But when I first got married, the other day you mentioned you was wondering if I was a Catholic. Yeah, I married a Catholic girl, an Italian Catholic girl. She kind of looked like Gina Lola Brigida.
Oh, did she now?
Yeah, my first wife. We had 5 in 4.5 years.
Mr. Jimmy, you dog. Gina Lola Brigida.
We were married about 2 years before she got pregnant. Back then, it was a good-looking Catholic Italian girl. And I went business with her daddy and everybody in the little town down in Mississippi. All of her cousins and everything had grocery stores. It was a mom and pop store. And so all of her cousins would look at in church and everywhere. They'd look at you kind of funny because it was 2 years before she got pregnant. So what we had to do was take pills. She had to take pills to get pregnant. And so she took estrogen, I think it was, something from cows, estrogen. to get pregnant, and the doctor said, "Oh boy, look out." So that's why we had 5 in 4.5 years.
And for those who were not listening, Mr. Jimmy told us that he had 11 children with his 2 wives, and someone questioned as to whether or not you were Catholic in faith, and obviously you have said that you are. Mr. Jimmy, I'm sorry that I do, but I have to run. God bless you. Thank you for your call. It's always good to catch up with you. Mr. Jimmy's telephone call reminded me of this.
I seem to stay in a lot of hotels that have the indoor swimming pool. You can always tell a hotel has an indoor pool because their lobby will smell like a bucket of bleach. Do you guys have an indoor pool, or did someone just clean up a murder scene? Because my eyes are bleeding, and occasionally I'll hit the indoor pool. That's always relaxing, right? Until anyone else shows up. Because then you're just in a gigantic tub, essentially in your underwear, with some stranger lurking there. The polite thing to do is ignore the other person. Because there's nothing you can say at that point that doesn't sound creepy. You can't be like, "Hey, hop in! What room are you staying at? I didn't shower before I got in here. Kind of count this as a bath."
That's a little Jim Gaffigan indoor hotel pools. See the rest at your own leisure. It's pretty funny. It's 1:30. Here comes Jay Harper Super Talk.
$1:30 on this Thursday afternoon. That's pretty darn hot. A lot of sunshine, 86 degrees. I'm Jay Harper. We'll get a forecast to you here shortly. And I'm still going to tell you about the traffic issues here. Yeah, it's still a mess. I-24 westbound, still closed near Clarksville between exits 19 and 11. They had a big crash there earlier. They're saying that should be opened soon, but it is still closed down. I-40 eastbound west of the city near Fairview between exits 182 and 188. That's still shut down. They had an overturned vehicle crash there. Traffic backed up way past I-840. So some real issues out there traffic-wise. President Biden, he said he and the other G7 leaders, they discussed the Gaza ceasefire and hostage proposal as they got together today in southern Italy. He told a reporter he hasn't lost hope, but it's not going to be easy.
President Biden, did you all have a chance to discuss a possible ceasefire?
Yes.
Are you confident it's going to be done soon, sir?
No. I'm not. I haven't lost hope, but it's going to be tough.
Donald Trump, he met today
with Ukraine.
Donald Trump today, he met with congressional Republicans near Capitol Hill. The former president appearing with a large group of Republican lawmakers after the meeting, saying that the gathering went well.
We agree just about on everything, and if there isn't, we work it out. And I've had a really great relationship with just about everybody here, just about all of the senators. And if it wasn't fantastic, it gets worked out. And we have one thing in mind, and that's making our country great.
That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Friends, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief located in Franklin has been there for over 3 decades. And they have well over 3 decades experience. As a matter of fact, if I count it up, we're probably talking about around 100 years collective experience between, of course, the originator, Dr. Gill, Dr. Wendy, Dr. Dominic, Dr. V, and the rest of the crew at the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. That level of experience can help inform you as to how they go about their business. They are good at what they do. They can help you with chiropractic care, spinal issues, soft tissue issues. Obviously, they're bringing the latest technology regularly into our community. In Middle Tennessee, they did so with spinal decompression, which now everybody has, but the originators are right there at the Dr. Gill Center, and they do it better than anyone else, and I am a personal testimony to that. They solved my back pain. I had back pain in the lower back, the upper back, and they took care of me at the Dr. Gill Center, and I promise you they'll take care of you. Schedule that appointment today. Don't put this off. Don't do this any longer with pills or with needles. Let's do it the natural way with the Dr. Gill Center. It doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg either. Less than $50 for your initial consultation and visit at the Dr. Gill Center. 615-882-4838. Call that number today, 882-4838. Tell them I sent you to the Dr. Gill Center for back, neck, and chronic pain relief. Turn it back up.
It's not Friday, though. I screwed up.
Oh, I thought you were messing with me.
No, I was hoping against hope. And
okay, so I'm going to sing it when she gets to the chorus, and you throw in Eve. That's just for you. Eve. Oh. All right, so we'll wait for the chorus. Normally we just hear this song at the last day of the work week, but Belle threw it in there. So it's Friday.
Eve.
you gotta
Eve.
Be. You gotta be.
Eve. 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 Eve.
See how silly that feels?
Eve.
See how foolish that sounds?
How many puppies did I just kill?
5.
A lot.
5 or 6. Whole litter. By the way, for those newbies in the listening audience, I hate the phrase Friday Eve. I always have hated the phrase Friday Eve. Thursday is a perfect. Is he done? Perfectly serviceable word to describe what today is. I think it's a shame that we give so much credit to Friday when Friday's a work day too. Saturday is really the big day.
Are we
right?
sure it's
Saturday
not Friday?
And it's not Friday. Damn. But I don't like the phrase. And look, I can't stop you from saying it. It's a free country. But anytime you hear the phrase Friday Eve on this radio show, just know somewhere, somehow a puppy dies. So if you want to be responsible for that, that's on you. Belle K apparently likes cats and cobras, doesn't care for puppies, and so there you go.
And
so
speaking of cobras, we have a man on the line who is partially responsible for me having to sneak my cobra into restaurants.
We do. His name is Representative Scott. Well, his name's not Representative. His name's Scott Sapii. He is a representative from Murray County, and he's taken a little time off from Balin Hay to help us understand what we learn from some of these TCAP scores. So you might know that third graders in Tennessee's public schools, they, according to the reports, have only seen slight improvement in English language arts scores. Statewide scores on the TCAP, the Tennessee Comprehensive Assessment Program, were released by state education officials today. To discuss this release, we welcome back to the show Scott Sapii. Hello, Scott. How are you?
How's everybody doing today?
Everybody's great. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being with us. How's the hayfield?
It's getting done.
Well, there you go. At least it's not hot.
Well, we've got about 150 acres to get baled today, and we've got about 2/3 of it done, and we're going to keep going once we get off the air here.
Your boys helping you out there?
Well, one's down in Memphis for football practice, and the other one's getting ready to go to football practice. So I'm kind of winging it myself right now.
Oh man! If you need any help, just let me know. I'll send Belle.
And the cobra.
Spicy the cobra. All right, so I don't want to lead you in any way. You know a lot more about these numbers and how to crunch them than I do. We see a release of scores. What's your assessment, Scott?
Well, I think what it shows you in reading, the changes that we've made over the last couple of years are showing a positive trend in our reading scores. Like you said, in third grade, those second graders who came up last year who had tutoring and summer school, they posted a 1% increase to 40.9, which keeps us in unprecedented territory in that aspect. But the thing we were kind of looking at was those third graders who hit 40 last year. What were their fourth grade scores going to look like? And we even increased it to 46.4%, a 2.9% increase. But Matt, the biggest data that should be disseminated here is in fourth grade, we have the fewest number of students in our lowest cohort of below, which means they're multiple grade levels behind. That has shrunk to a level that we haven't seen in a long time, down to 13%. So that means our kids are learning at the levels that were furthest behind, are closing that academic gap, so that we can start to see these gains in 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, which we're really excited about. But the underlying pin here is these are the kids that were most affected by COVID. Mm-hmm. And these are the kids that are posting the highest academic scores we've seen in third and fourth grade, probably for the last decade.
What does it mean if 60% or thereabouts of our third graders fall short now that the reading law is in place and has been for a number of years? What does that mean for parents? Help them understand if their student's one of the students that fell short. I mean, they've already done a lot of things to move forward. Mm-hmm. So that kind of is baked into the cake at this point, despite the numbers just being released, right? They've already done the measures necessary to get their kid from third to fourth grade.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. And so what we're seeing is that the interventions we have in third and fourth grade, Matt, are probably going to have to be pushed down, probably starting in kindergarten, if not first grade. Get them into summer school, get them into tutoring, get them caught up before they hit that third grade level when that first TCAP test comes in. And from speaking to teachers across the state and with the commissioner, we believe that could be the missing link that really gets our academic scores starting to take off, of getting those interventions as early as possible and start to see these results trickling in first grade and second grade, that by the time they hit third grade, we're, instead of having 40%, we're having 60 and 70% of our kids on grade level. And if we can get there, Matt, that puts us top 10 in the country.
So we're not where we want to be, but do you believe, Scott Sapii, the ship, the data suggests the ship is moving in the right direction. Would you agree with that?
100%. Now, the one thing we're not talking about is mathematics.
Sure.
That's a whole different conversation, and we are working on the mathematics delivery process for next year. That'll be a bill that'll come up. I started the process last year of tasking the Department of Education to scour not only Tennessee, but scour our country of who is delivering mathematics the best, and incorporate those into a bill next year that we will run to start to get mathematics turned around also. I don't think you're going to see anything in regards to retention. I think you're going to see those interventions starting with summer school and tutoring starting in first grade.
I mean, so is that the next step in your estimation, is to roll this back, if not to kindergarten, then to first grade? If we identify those who are failing to meet proficiency, we can focus and help those individuals get better. I mean, it seems that we've done that and we've seen the scores improve more dramatically from third to fourth grade. I mean, the third grade scores are what they are from last year to this year. The fourth grade scores have been improved, which indicates to me that if we can identify the students that are falling through the cracks for whatever reason, we can better assist them. So would that not mean then that rolling this back to second grade or to first grade with regard to testing would be the next logical step to try to identify those problem areas sooner?
I think the answer is yes there without the testing component, because we already have the 3 benchmarks that our teachers and our districts do to monitor the progress of those students. I think leaving those benchmarks in place and giving the teachers and the districts more tools on intervention, i.e. summer school and tutoring options that are going to show the best benefits, and then engaging the parents here of saying, hey, if we can do this and you can do this, your student will be able to produce X when they get to third grade. And I think everybody working together by revamping the whole system of how we do education, which is one of the things, as you know, in the school choice bill that we were trying to do in the House, was less testing, less evaluations, more teaching time. I think that's something that's going to pay big dividends in the future.
I'm getting a lot of response on the membersnutrition.com super text line, Scott, about your comments on math. Where are we in that process? When would you expect that we'll see more of this type of testing in mathematics?
I think what you'll see is, according to the bill right now, the department is tasked to create teams to go and look at best practices in Tennessee and best practices throughout the country, looking for those states that are doing it extremely well, incorporate what we do in Tennessee and the things that are working in Tennessee and elsewhere to come up with a delivery process for our teachers so that we can all be on the same academic level when we're delivering mathematics. And I think what you're going to see are the 2 words of numeracy and fluency, the way we used to deliver math to our students. I think you're going to see that be predominant in Tennessee like we did with phonics, going back to the basics. And I think that's where we're going to really start to engage our students.
Our Tennessee schools are required to take all comers regardless of legal status. That is a part of a Supreme Court decision made many, many years ago. And until we see that revisited, we don't have a lot of flexibility there. But my question is this: do some of those non-English speakers count in these test scores, or do we subdivide those out?
They are exempt, Matt, for 2 years. Once they enter the system, that gives them time to learn the English language and get acclimated. What we normally see is the data suggests that when those English language learners, when they hit year 3 and 4, they turn out to be some of our best students, believe it or not.
And several questions regarding what this means for the next legislative session, Scott. And I know you're limited on time. We've got a few more minutes. But so during our conversations about the possibility of scholarships, the education scholarship bill, which I know you were a fan of and you advocated for in the House of Representatives, many of your fellow House members wanted to see, as a more comprehensive approach to education in the state of Tennessee, a rollback of certain testing during the school year. Well, my question would be, and I know it comes from a place of ignorance, and maybe I'm being naive, but if this seems to be working, if we all agree that we're seeing a better score as a result of this testing and what we're doing now, why would we finagle with it until we can see some more results over the next several years with regard to testing during the school year?
So in regards to school choice, Matt, you're talking about why we would do
well,
school choice also?
In order to get school choice, no, not necessarily the school choice piece, but and maybe I'm glossing over the meat. So in order to get school choice, I know that some representatives wanted some concessions as a more broad or more comprehensive education reform package, and that included less testing during the year. And my question is, do you think that should be off the table for the foreseeable future, considering that we're seeing some positive results?
Well, no, I do think that the reduction in testing is going to pay dividends. On average, I'll give you an example. Middle schoolers in Tennessee will take between probably 16 and 17 tests a year. We test too much, where all our teachers are doing is preparing for a test, taking a test, and then evaluating the test.
Right.
We need to do less of that. We need to give more of those time periods. And if you talk to teachers, Matt, they talk about the momentum of education. When the kids come in every day and they're learning and learning and learning, they develop this momentum in the classroom. And then you have a break to test. But you have to have a certain amount of time for momentum to really engage academics and learning. And so what we proposed in the House was not really doing away with all the testing, just scaling it back about 40% to create more teaching time in the classroom. And states such as Iowa and Wisconsin that have done that, their academic test scores have gone from mid-30s in the country in the top 15.
So where do we go from here with regard to school choice? Do you believe that that will be a priority for the state legislature when you go back into session in January?
Oh, I believe 100% that the governor has school choice on his on probably bill number one. Mm-hmm. The question we're asking and going to ask is, okay, are there things that we can do for public schools, like the testing and the evaluations and things like that? Can we still tag them onto the bill and pass them all, or does the governor just want to run school choice straight up or down and see where the legislators are as a whole? That's going to be up to leadership and the governor, but I'm sure when we get close to that time period, I hope to be involved in those conversations.
Bell tells me Jody has a quick question for Scott Sapii while we have him on the line for a minute or two longer. Jody, what's your question?
Hi, Scott. I'm sorry. When I got in the car, I heard this conversation going on, so I didn't hear the very beginning. But I'm a parent to, I'm raising my granddaughter. And the school system seems to make these kids so nervous about these testing that basically if they fail, they either have to repeat back the grade they were in or do the other forms. My problem is she's a straight A student, and she didn't test real great on the score, so she was told either attend the summer camp or do tutoring. But yet I have a next door neighbor where the child is in 5th grade and can't even read or spell. How are they not having to do this stuff? I don't understand.
Being retained. Keep listening, Jody, and I'll get Scott to answer that question. Scott, did you hear the question?
I did. That's a great question, and that is precisely, Matt and Jody, why we did what we did with the bills that we've run, because there were students that were being pushed forward that were not academically on grade level. I've got a very dear friend of mine that teaches here in Tennessee, and he teaches in high school, and he's got kids that are supposed to be juniors in high school that are reading on a 5th and 6th grade level. And that is what we intend to stop, is we're going to bring accountability into the classroom for these students and the teachers and the system and the parents, is that we have to get these kids educated. And I don't think retention has to be a word we meet. It has to be there. But I think the interventions that we have in place, as she's talked about the summer school and tutoring, we're seeing great academic returns on investment of those. So it is a work in progress, Matt. It is a very difficult thing to change. It's $12 billion a year of taxpayer money, and we will keep fighting the battle to get our kids the best options they can.
Scott, thank you for giving us a snap commentary on the test scores that were just released earlier today. We'll obviously have you back over the course of the summer and into the fall as parents get their students back into school. We appreciate your expertise on this subject. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Matt, and have a great Friday Eve.
You ruined it. It was a great interview.
I knew I loved him.
Great interview until then. Joe Biden is currently speaking with Vladimir Zelensky in Italy. Fasano, Italy, to be precise. We'll maybe jib some of that in just a moment. Right now, this on Super Talk. JK, Erica, and the rest of the team at US Pest, they kill the bugs that bug you. What's bugging you in your home? Is it, silver, those little silver, what do they call them? Silverfish? Whatever they're called? Yeah, silverfish. Or the termites. My goodness gracious. The termites won't bug you necessarily, but they'll just destroy your house. If you don't have termite protection, you need to call US Pest. As a matter of fact, if you have any bug problem, call US Pest. And if you don't think you have a bug problem, call them, let them check out your place. They're not going to upsell you on anything. They're good Americans. They're patriotic Americans. They believe in the American way of doing business, and that is they'll identify a problem if it exists, and if it doesn't, they'll tell you, congratulations, you don't have an issue. US Pest, they do it the right way, and I love being able to speak for these guys on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Go to uspest.com and sign up today, or get a free inspection. Free. If it's free, I'll take 3. 3 inspections, they'll do it. uspest.com or 590-1260. 615-590-1260.
Good afternoon. It's 2 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got scattered clouds. We're at 87 degrees. A forecast coming up. I've still got to tell you about these traffic issues. They are considerable. I-24 westbound still shut down near Clarksville between exits 19 and 11 due to a crash between a semi and 3 cars. Sadly, that has resulted in a fatality there. And also I-40 eastbound near Fairview between exits 182 and 188. The right lane is open there, but the traffic's still a mess. Things backed up all the way to Interstate 840. Turning to the news now, Donald Trump meeting today with congressional Republicans near Capitol Hill. The former president appearing with a large group of GOP representatives after the meeting, saying it went well. And he also, of course, took some time to criticize the Biden administration.
We don't have success right now. We have inflation that's killing everybody. We have levels of inflation that nobody's seen for, they say 42 years, they say 53 years, and they say 75 years. I would say probably all of them are wrong. Probably we've never seen levels like this before.
Boeing aircraft having some new issues, and it's being investigated on their 787 Dreamliners. We hear now from Alex Stone.
Hundreds of fasteners were incorrectly installed on the fuselage of undelivered 787 Dreamliners, according to reporting by Reuters. Boeing says in a statement to ABC News its 787 team is checking fasteners on the sides of body areas of undelivered Dreamliners to ensure they meet engineering specifications. The issue apparently poses no immediate concern to flight safety and does not impact in-service airplanes.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, folks, Matt Murphy for the Dr. Paz Center for Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions. You know, I'm not only a spokesperson, I'm also a client. I was a spokesperson before becoming a client, and then I spoke to Dr. Paz. You know, I speak to all the good endorsers of the Matt Murphy Show on with a certain amount of regularity. And I was talking to Dr. Paz, and he asked me how I was sleeping. And I said, you know, I feel low energy nowadays, Dr. Paz. And he said, well, have you had a sleep test? And I said, no. He said, maybe you should get one. I said, I don't snore that much. He said, did you know that 25% of adults who have sleep apnea are unaware of it, and many of those adults that are unaware of it because they don't snore and their partners aren't affected by their sleeping. Well, I was one of those Americans, and I got a sleep apnea test, and I have sleep apnea, mild sleep apnea, and now I have a device that has solved that issue. They have 2 locations to serve you. One's in Brentwood, the other in Murfreesboro, and I would remind you that they are in network with all major medical insurance companies like BCBS, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, and TRICARE for the military, meaning that this is a part of your insurance plan. Get with the program, get a sleep test done, and go to Dr. Paz. If you are CPAP intolerant, it's time to get a better night's sleep through an appliance created by Dr. Stephen Paz. Go to drpaz.com on his website, drposs.com. That's drpaz.com, and do like I did. Sleep better with an appliance from the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, final hour of the Matt Murphy Show. It is 2:06. Pleased to be with you. I will get to the Israeli-Hamas commentary that I've been promising for these 2 hours. Plus, Merrick Garland should be in jail like Steve Bannon. I mean, if a contempt of Congress citation equates to jail for Steve Bannon, then why is the Attorney General above the law? I'll have commentary on that for you coming up in just a few moments. San Francisco is now a sanctuary city for transgenders. What is this? 1978? What's San Francisco? What have they been sent? What have they been before now? Apparently, the city council believes that they need to do more for the transgender population out there. We'll tell you about that. And no Olympics for Leah Thomas. That's all on the way on the Murphy Show. But right now, Joe Biden is blathering in Italy, and I thought that maybe we could hear good old crazy sleepy Uncle Joe and see what's going on. Let's listen in. That's Zelensky, by the way. He said that like he thinks Bloomberg was his last name.
He also said American reporter. He was reading that off the card.
American reporter. Oh, that's a good question. Of course they're not. Thank you. Don't go off script.
That guy won't get another question.
How dare he? That's not on my card. Play by the rules a little bit. Grumpy Joe. Okay, so while he's answering, pull him down just a little bit. You can keep him on in the background, just low in the background. I just want to help people understand at 2:09 what's going on here. There is a G7 summit going on in Fasano, Italy, and Joe Biden has met with Zelensky, and they've agreed to this 10-year security deal, which I don't believe is binding at all. They're claiming that it benefits everyone in the world. It's going to benefit. I mean, basically, the United States of America continues to fund a proxy war against Russia through Ukraine, and we are committed to doing so through Joe Biden. What could go wrong, considering that Russia currently has ships off the coast of Florida, and we're agreeing to this sort of deal? This is throwing good money after bad money after bad money after good money. I don't know that this comes to any good fruition. But in the meantime, there's Joe Biden chiding the mainstream media for not asking the question. You need to play by the rules. You didn't write that question down and submit that question in advance. You're asking a different question. That's what Joe Biden meant there. Okay, pull him back up. Yeah, so, by the way, while he's talking, that's an interpreter talking, which drives me insane. I understand that there are some limitations regarding these press conferences on social media. I don't know why that is. Why is it that we can't hear this audio on Facebook or on YouTube? Do you know, Bell? But we can.
I don't. I
can't hear any of these press conferences online. So,
yeah, I can explain that later.
Okay. So is it impermissible that we hear them online?
It's a potential music issue.
Oh. Okay. Well, my apologies to those of you listening online. We wanted to try to, in real time, present the infirm, dementia-addled Joe Biden, president/resident of the United States of America, to the American people. It is rare. It is rare. And I doubt he answers but one more question. It is rare that we actually get to him. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give it to you live as it happens in Fasano, Italy. So I apologize to those of you online who can't hear it. Go ahead. A lot more money. Good Lord. I love the way they throw our money around like it doesn't matter. Like, we're $35 trillion in debt, for goodness sake. Nobody seems to care. Okay, it's going to be a really long question, so we're not going to listen to that. We're going to pull this down. Once Joe Biden comes back, we might jip that a little bit further. Jip meaning join in progress. JIP, join in progress. So we might do that in just a moment. In the meantime, the reporter asked about the lack of agreement on the part of Hamas, and it made Joe Biden angry. Why? Because it identifies the reality that Hamas is the evil in that conflict. From beginning to end, Hamas has always been the problem. To legitimize Hamas by actually sitting down at a table of negotiation with them is absurd. You're literally negotiating with terrorists. And terrorists act like terrorists act. I'm beside myself over the lack of media attention on this thing. In the meantime, hey, they're focusing on Joe. Pull Joe up here. I want to hear from Joe. We're going to stay. They're not winning. Oh, China. So let me offer some commentary while they're asking this question, too. By the way, no more questions for Mr. Bloomberg. He gets no more questions to Joe Biden. No more. So Joe Biden just said we're going to stay as long as it takes. I told you 2 years ago, when this happened, remember 2 years ago, pull him all the way down, Bell. I'll point to you when I want to get him back because that's confusing me. Over 2 years ago. Was it not 2 years ago that this happened? I think that's right. It was in 2 years. It was 22. The Ukrainian response and the way that Joe Biden acted in the months after Vladimir Putin and the Russians decided to exploit American weakness, and that's exactly what he did. He exploited American weakness. The reason they're off the coast of Florida right now with their warships, they're demonstrating their strength against American weakness. He knows very well what Joe Biden will do in any given situation. Joe Biden is predictable. I used the analogy of poker yesterday to help us better understand what's going on here. If I'm a poker player and I know how you're going to react to my bet, then I know exactly how to bet to get you out of the hand. I know what you'll do in order to stay in the hand. And if I know all of those things, I don't need to know what cards you have. What cards you have don't matter. If I can bet you out of the hand, you can have pocket aces. If I can bet you out of the hand, I will. And right now, Vladimir Putin believes that this bet is working for him because he believes he knows exactly how Joe Biden's going to respond to anything that he does. Do you think Vladimir Putin is afraid of this president? Do you think he is confused by this president? Of course he's not. That's why you see warships off the coast of Florida, and it's why he's not interested in this nonsensical agreement, this 10-year agreement that has been made. All right, Joe has just taken out his earpiece, and there's a lot of people moving around. He is slowly moving to the middle of the stage now, extending his hand. Get that out of there. Shaking his hand, and they're walking. It looks like Joe knew which way to walk. Good. Vladimir Putin.
Zelensky helped him off the stage.
Zelensky helped him there. Biden says that we're not backing down. We're standing together. Here's the deal, folks. Joe Biden is and has been slow walking us into war. It is not too long ago that we've seen this in our recent history. In Vietnam, say what you will about that conflict, and God bless those of you that served in Vietnam. And I know many of you who did listen to our radio show, and I appreciate and respect you, and I salute every single one of you. But that doesn't mean that we don't have sharp and critical commentary about how our leadership slowly walked us into a war that ultimately proved to be unwinnable because the leadership then would not, the military officials had the ability to win the war. The military personnel and the military itself had the ability to win the war. The politicians wouldn't get out of the way and allow them to do it. And the politicians are dictating the terms of this war as well. And sadly, we are now fully in a proxy war as we fund Ukrainian armaments. We fund American military arms to go to that country in the tune of billions of dollars. For what? For what? Meantime, our southern border is not secure. Quite the opposite. We've got a flood of illegal alien activity. We've got an emergency crisis going on the southern border. We've got inflation through the roof. We've got overspending through the roof. Our country is not together by any sense of the word. And Joe Biden continues to slow walk the United States of America into the war. The next steps, if he wins re-election, he'll send troops over there. Watch. Just watch. I've been predicting this slow walk, and I've been right every step of the way since Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine on Joe Biden's watch. Didn't do so on Donald Trump's watch for good reason. Jeff is in Hendersonville next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, Jeff. Hello, Jeff.
Oh, hey, how you doing? Hey, I just had a question. I know all this smoke and mirrors stuff going on. If you had any opinion, thoughts, builds on the fact that Saudi Arabia discontinued the petrodollar after 80 years, we are no longer the petrodollar is no longer the currency that Saudi Arabia is going to use. Any thoughts?
You know what? I don't have a lot of thoughts outside of reading the story and attempting to understand. It was a decision not to renew contracts between that enables Saudi Arabia to sell oil in multiple currencies, right? And so I have a rudimentary understanding of this. So they will not renew their contract to give them the ability to sell oil for Chinese currency, euros, yen, and instead of exclusively in U.S. dollars.
Yeah. What's the
that's my basic. That's my basic understanding of it. I don't pretend to have a full understanding of it. Now, I do know this, and I just looked it up because I had this article pulled up from earlier this morning, and I did not go through all of it. So my understanding of this, I am leaning on the knowledge of others, and I don't have any sort of background on it. But apparently it was originally signed in June of 1974. The deal established two joint commissions, one based on economic cooperation and the other on Saudi Arabia's military needs. At the time that it was signed, it was heralded as an era of close cooperation between America and the Saudi Arabians. American officials at the time expressed optimism that the deal would motivate Saudi Arabia to ramp up its global oil production, and they wanted to continue economic collaboration between Washington and other Arab countries. So it was a decision to not renew the contract, which enables Saudi Arabia to begin selling oil in other currencies. So I said it slightly wrong. They had exclusively sold in U.S. dollars. Now they have opened themselves up to sell in multiple currencies, including the Chinese RMB, euros, the yen, and others. They could even sell in digital currency like Bitcoin. It's a it is considered to be, amongst those that know better than me, a major shift away from the petrodollar system established in 1972 when the United States decoupled away from the gold standard, and it's expected to hasten a shift away from the U.S. dollar. This is a big deal. American influence around the world continues to weaken under the leadership or lack thereof of Joe Biden. And this is another example of it. As China continues to grow, as China continues to become a bigger and bigger player and a bigger threat, obviously the United States of America remains the biggest boy on the block. We need to remain that. Understand, there will always be a number one. Those in our country that want to diminish our influence around the world, who do you want to replace that influence? Because someone will. Someone will. But long story short, I have to, Jeff, I have to analyze it a little bit better. I don't pretend to have a background of knowledge on it, except what I have told you. I do know that it signals that the Saudi Arabians do not believe that they are beholden to continue that relationship, and they believe it's in their best interest to broaden their relationship with other countries and deal in other currencies. It's going to continue to weaken the United States dollar as it has been weakened over certainly the last 3 or 4 years. Super Talk 99.7 WTN 224. Back in a moment.
President Biden and Ukrainian President Zelensky signing a security agreement today. We'll have some of Mr. Biden's comments after that agreement. And a year-long investigation leads to the arrest of a Williamson County man. We'll have details on that and more at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Time to go to the dentist. It's almost 2:30. It's 2:28 to be precise. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy, you. There's Jay Harper over there. He's delivering the news in mere moments. Bell K, Headless Bell. We call him behind the glass. We make way to the drive with Brian Wilson coming up in the next few minutes. So I spent a little time reading more about this decision on the part of the Saudi Arabians, and it's depressing. It's depressing because American influence is obviously in decline. Donald Trump said as much earlier today. Donald Trump said that we are currently a nation in decline. Is that wrong? Is that wrong? To tell the truth about that? Joe Biden is a part of that. The Democrats are a part of that. They've worked very hard internally to create a level of strife and struggling in the United States of America. The George Soroses of the world have worked very hard to create internal unrest, to create this dynamic that we are a bad country full of bad people. That is designed to rot us from within. Secondarily and simultaneously to that, we are rotting exterior to our country. We don't have sovereignty with regard to borders anymore. I don't mean to be too much of a Debbie Downer or a Donnie Downer. So in analyzing this situation, it just further confirms that other nations recognize this. And in order to get our country back on track, you got to get somebody in there that understands what's going on. You need Donald J. Trump. A 50-year-old petrodollar pact. This petrodollar pact came in the aftermath of the United States of America going off the gold standard. In 1972, I believe.
72 or 73, one of them.
Yeah, so the result was that because we dealt in gold or as a standard in gold with our oil transactions with the Saudi Arabians, and we had to do something differently. And so we created a petrodollar, it was called. And the petrodollar became the official currency of Saudi Arabia as it came to doing transactions around the world. So that agreement has recently expired. The original petrodollar agreement was signed June 8 of 1974 by U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. Gosh, is it not amazing that he just recently died?
71 was when he took us off the gold standard.
Well, there you go. It was signed by the one of the princes of Saudi Arabia, whose name I can't pronounce. Prince Great Googly Moogly. Thank you, Grady. It was in the aftermath of the Arab oil embargo and a notable spike in international oil prices. The agreement, which was later known as the petrodollar system, was aimed to establish a stabilized global market to ensure steady flow of oil from Saudi Arabia to the United States of America. In return, the United States agreed to help Saudi Arabia with military enhancement and economic cooperation. Under the agreement, Saudi Arabia agreed to price its oil exports exclusively in U.S. dollars and invest in surplus oil revenue in the United States of America in the form of treasury bonds. It was promised U.S. military security and economic development assistance in return. This system replaced gold as the standard of value, which enabled the United States to maintain dominance over international trade and allowed the U.S. government to control the world's energy market. And it's over.
And when did the embargo from OPEC happen? 75?
It was before this.
No, it was in the 70s. It was in the mid-70s when...
I thought it was like 73, 72.
I got to find that out.
I don't know. I was born in 73.
For that to happen afterwards would show what a sham the agreement was.
Well, the agreement worked in our favor in as much as we offered military assistance to the Saudi Arabians and they agreed to deal in U.S. dollars. And
73.
Can I get a little, hey, give me a little something. Thank you. Uh-huh. Right. Murphy was right. 1973. Thank you. You can kill it. All right, 33 after the hour. Jay Harper's waiting patiently to do the news. We'll continue this discussion here in just a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It's 2:33, and yes, I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Scattered clouds, 91 degrees on Music Row. We'll get you a weather forecast. Still need to point out the traffic issues real quick here. I-24, if you're headed toward Clarksville, you're going to sit a while. There was a fatal accident there overnight. Traffic still jammed up between exits 19 and 11. Also, I-40 eastbound near Fairview. You've got the road partially open there, but traffic still a mess, backed up from exits 188 all the way back to I-840. In news, at the G7 summit in Italy today, President Biden and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky signing a bilateral security agreement between the two countries. Here is President Biden after that signing.
The agreement that President Zelensky and I just signed also lays out our shared vision for a just peace. A peace rooted in the UN Charter and the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, following a year-long joint investigation between the Franklin Police and the Department of Homeland Security, a man is facing multiple charges related to identity theft and sexual offenses. According to authorities, a Williamson County grand jury returned a 25-count indictment on June 5th against 61-year-old Gordon Grigg of Franklin. He reportedly promoted himself as a life coach in order to contact victims and assault them. On June 12th, Grigg was booked into the Williamson County Jail, where he's being held on $1 million bond. Police said the the District Attorney General's office, for the 21st Judicial District is going to be prosecuting that case. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for the one and only Glock store. Now, if you want to go, if you've never been, what are you waiting on? Are you waiting on, the need for ammo, waiting on the need for, accessories? You don't feel like you need another handgun in your life or another long gun in your life? Or maybe it's something else that's stopping you from going, well, I'm here to tell you, you need to overcome those objections and get yourself over to the Glock store. They're the best in the business. I found that out when I walked in their beautiful retail space. Their showroom is absolutely unmatched in this market. They've got friendly folks. These people, I tell you, they are trained from the best. I mean, Lenny McGill and his team, like Dan and the rest of the guys over there, they help their sales associates understand that you might be an experienced marksman when you walk through the door. You might own more guns than Adam's house cat, or you might have never picked up a gun in your life, and they are able to speak with you depending on your level of expertise, and they can walk you through the process. The same with the shooting rooms. The Shoot 270 shooting rooms are there for you, and their trainers within those rooms understand that sometimes they get somebody that's never held a gun in their life, and they start from there, or they get a marksman that's just looking to get a little bit better, that matter of inches, and it matters indeed. So go to shoot270.com or glockstore.com for more information, and better yet, get on out to the Glock store on Airlane Drive off Elm Hill Pike. Tell them Murphy sent you. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. More of your calls on the way. It is 2:40. We'll talk with Brian Wilson moments from now. I'm beginning to believe that this is one of the biggest and more underreported stories of the day as I read more about it, as I understand the consequences of it. I admit that it was not on my radar screen until Jeff from Hendersonville called us. And thank you for the call, Jeff, and thank you for getting it on our plate and on our radar screen. The petrodollar elevated the dollar as the world's, in part, as the world's premier international currency, and now it's gone. And as a result, more nations will not see fit or beholden to engaging in world affairs through the U.S. dollar. Over the years, the global economic dynamics were influenced by the petrodollar system. It created a reading now from an article that I found online regarding this, about the paradigm shift in global finance that was published yesterday. Global economic dynamics influenced by the petrodollar system. It created a demand for U.S. dollars as the currency was required for oil transactions. The value of the U.S. dollar increased significantly. It reinforced the currency's status as the primary reserve currency of the world. It allowed the United States to run larger trade deficits and maintain lower interest rates than would otherwise be possible. According to a report by the Government Accountability Office in 1979, the mechanisms of the U.S.-Saudi agreement included the establishment of the two joint commissions focused on economic cooperation and military needs. The agreement ensured the Saudi Arabians would reinvest its oil revenues in U.S. assets. It further tied the economic fortunes of the two nations together and enhanced U.S. economic influence worldwide. As Saudi Arabia has now decided not to renew the petrodollar agreement, the country has now the flexibility to conduct sales of its largest asset in multiple currencies, including the Chinese RMB, euros, the yen, and the yuan. Am I saying that right? I'll call it the Grady. I'll call it the Grady if I have to. Which will expand in the future. It reflects a broader strategy of the Middle East and a broader strategy specifically of Saudi Arabia to diversify its economic alliances and reduce reliance on the U.S. dollar. This move is a potential catalyst for a significant shift in the global financial markets, as it will push the countries to shift away from U.S. dollars as a primary reserve currency. So far, the U.S. dollar has served as a base for determining the value of different international currencies, which would now change in coming years. This shift could open new avenues for global economic transactions. Some are pointing to digital currencies like Bitcoin being considered for future use in oil trading, a step that would change the economic structure of world currency at an unprecedented level. The diversification of currency usage aligns with Saudi Arabia's broader economic vision, which includes integrating into the global economy through a variety of financial instruments and digital innovations having nothing to do with the United States of America. The expiration of the petrodollar, this is the conclusion from this essay. The expiration of the petrodollar agreement between Saudi Arabia and the United States is going to have extensive implication for the global economy, as the former's subsequent financial maneuvers will open doors for a paradigm shift. The U.S. has long benefited from the status of the dollar as the dominant global currency. The position of the currency provided the U.S. with significant economic advantages. However, Saudi Arabia and other countries are now exploring alternatives, resulting in reducing the hold that the U.S. has had on other countries' economies. With this shift, the global financial landscape could witness a shift toward a more multipolar currency system. Well, simply put, instead of guarding the hen house and protecting where America is with regard to our status in the world, this is depressing. We're $35 trillion in debt, and we don't have this leverage anymore. Saudi Arabia doesn't see us as important enough to negotiate with this, or maybe Joe Biden didn't see it as an important negotiating point himself. Joe Biden's too busy giving more money that we don't have away to the Ukrainians right now, instead of worrying about this. This on the heels of, Russian warships off the coast of Florida. Russians all chummy with the Cubans again. And they've been chummy with the Cubans over the years. I get that. But this is just another, Russia is essentially giving the United States of America the finger and daring us to say something about it. That's right, Bell. The big one-finger salute. There you go, buddy. It's depressing. Deborah's in Franklin. Hey, Deborah. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
My husband and I just read on the military.com, a daily brief, that the president is balking at giving the lower enlisted a 19% pay raise because this was offered by the joint, by the House military. Anyways, and the reason he's doing so, or the main reason, is he said that it will cost $24.5 billion through 2029. So my question is how can he do this when he is giving Ukraine maybe more than $80 million? 80 billion. I'm sorry.
Right, billion with a B.
Billion.
I mean, the simple answer. Well, and Deborah, the simple answer is, and you will not like it, is that the White House opposes this pay raise because they do not believe that it will be a political detriment to his reelection chances. They think that it is more of a splash during the summer months leading up to the election, that he continues his push to, quote unquote, support Ukraine. Sadly, he puts the needs of Ukrainian soldiers ahead of the needs of our own. I'm sad to say that, but it's true.
I calculated out that an E4 with less than 2 years, his base pay is $13.71 an hour, when they're trying to give fast food workers in California $20 an hour. I was in the military, my husband was in the military, and we have worked with people who are literally on welfare and food assistance because they can't meet their daily needs.
Well, Deborah, you're right, and I wish that your call made me feel better about the future, but, we've just got a lot of bad news on top of bad news on top of bad news, but
I hear you.
In a statement, and you've probably read this, I think I'm referring to the very article that you just mentioned on military.com. It says, in a statement Tuesday about its position on the House version of the annual must-pass defense policy bill, the White House Budget Office suggested a plan to give low-ranking troops a 19.5% boost in pay next year is too costly and premature amid their ongoing review of military. They say this simultaneous to him announcing that they're going to spend billions and billions and billions of more dollars for Ukrainian arms, for Ukrainian soldiers, and we cannot protect our own. It is a slap in the face of our United States military. I do not believe that Joe Biden, and thank you, Deborah, for the call. I don't believe that Joe Biden for a moment has any respect for our United States military, and he can finish his speeches with God bless our troops all he wants. Actions speak louder than words. 7889, we well know that, and we repeat it for a while. We've been repeating it for a while on the show. 7889 writes on the membersnutrition.com super text line, you know Joe Biden doesn't make any decisions. The enemies of our country are running our country. Yes. When we talk about Biden making decisions, obviously we're talking about the power behind the throne. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Joe Biden is not making any of these decisions. I don't know exactly who is. I would suggest to you that it is a part of an Obama cabal of senior advisors that probably rely a little too much on Barack Obama's wisdom with regard to how they make their decisions. Bottom line is they're not held responsible for any of this. Joe Biden is. And Joe Biden doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground. So what does he care? It is. What do you care? Well, I care. The time on the wall tells us. We take a quick time out. We'll check in with Brian Wilson next. Maybe we get into some good news. I don't know. I don't know that there's a lot. Oh, no Olympics for Leah Thomas. That's good news because boys should not be swimming with the girls. More on that in a moment on Super Talk. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A couple of minutes left in the Matt Murphy portion of the broadcast day. By the way, here's a little bit of good news. For those of you that need some. Leah Thomas, that's the swimmer that was competing in the NCAA swim meets. You might recall Leah Thomas's name through our conversations with Riley Gaines over the years, has been denied the opportunity to compete in the female side of things in the Olympic swimming team, and he could not compete in the men's side of things, so no Leah Thomas in the 2024 Olympics. That's good news. That's a little bit of a sliver of good news. Brian Wilson is good news. The fact that we got the drive coming up for 4 full hours, that's good news as well. Hello, Mr. Wilson. How are you?
Hey, how you doing? Everything going all right for you today, man? The weather outside yesterday was delightful. Today, just a little miserable, quite frankly.
Oh, no. It's hot enough now that the weather people on Super Talk are telling us what to do with our lives, like what type of clothing to wear.
Yeah. Don't worry. All you need to do is common sense. But, but there's always somebody to tell you what common sense is.
That's exactly right. My grandpa used to say common sense is not too common. They ought to call it uncommon sense.
That's absolutely right.
What's happening with the Common Sense, the drive this afternoon? What are you doing?
Well, big continual news about Hunter Biden and his conviction and whether or not he might be pardoned. Now, the president said he won't pardon him, but they seem to be dancing around the idea when asked about, well, would you commute the sentence, which basically would get him out of any jail time if there is any. And they will not answer that question. And he was just asked it again while he's over at the G7 in Italy, and I'll talk about that. The Secretary of the Treasury is an idiot, quite frankly. I don't know what else to put about that. We'll talk about that. And, there's been a lot of covenant news percolating. The Daily Wire now is putting out just about everything that can be put out there with regard to the Covenant shooting. Documents have been published, and there's going to be a big court hearing on Monday. And is it possible that a certain conservative journalist in our area would be sent to jail for contempt of court? We'll talk about that.
We look forward to it. There's Brian Wilson, full of wit and humor and great information every afternoon on the drive on Super Talk. He's coming right after Jay Harper, and Jay Harper's coming right now with the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Have a wonderful afternoon, folks. We'll be back tomorrow at high noon. Until then, hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.